Hello, my name is AndresChalela. This video presents the sprint process that was followed during the course of the semester for CodeVR 1.0. As a guide, I will be demonstrating user story number 744, a CodeVR language application, phase 2. When starting a sprint, a new user story for a feature to be implemented has to be created. This can be done by going to the Sprint Planning tab and selecting the plus icon at the top of the sprint column. In the sprint creation window, the title of the user story, the description, and the acceptance criteria have to be filled out. The description has to follow the who, what, and why of the feature that is being implemented. The acceptance criteria states all the functionality that has to be present at the end of the sprint for the user story to be marked as completed. The status, priority, points, and owner drop-down options also have to be filled out. For our project, we decided that points would represent hours. Therefore, as you can see here, each member of the team was responsible for working 40 hours on their user story per bi-weekly sprint. Once a user story was created, we would get in touch with our product owner, Dr. Francisco Ortega, and get his approval before continuing. Once we received his approval, we would go to the sprint planning board and create tasks that break down a user story into smaller milestones. These tasks have to get accomplished so that the user story can be completed. The task card has a title and a description that have to be filled out. It also has the same drop-down options as the user story card that have to be filled in. Once created, the tasks appear in the to-do column. As each one is worked on and completed, they have to be moved to their respective column to keep track of the current status. At the end of the sprint, all tasks should be under the Done column. Now that the user story is created, I go over the acceptance criteria and create my use case diagram. Every acceptance criteria represents a use case that has to be implemented. For the creation of the use case diagrams, I use draw.io. By selecting the new diagram option, you are taken to an empty canvas. Here, I can generate an actor and attach the needed use cases to the actor. This is an example of the final result of the use case diagram created for the user story I am presenting. The sequence diagram and class diagram for the user story is also created using draw.io. Here's the final result of the sequence and class diagram for the user story. As you can see in the sequence diagram, the relevant classes that are used during the execution of the compiler are listed at the top with their own respective lifeline. This diagram demonstrates the flow of events from class to class as the entire compiler takes input source code and outputs the translated Python code. The implementation of all the use cases are done within the CodeVR to Python Java class. This class takes the parse tree generated from the input, traverses the nodes, and generates the translated Python source code. For this user story, I had to generate the translated Python code for function declarations, function calls, and variable update statements. Additionally, I had to retrieve the translated code from the parse tree and write it to the respective project directory. During the traversal of the nodes, whenever a node is exited, the translated code is generated via method call. Here we can see the exit function declaration method. Similarly, methods for exiting function calls and variable updates are also implemented within the class. The retrieval of the translated code is done within the exit file method, since the file node will always be the root node of the tree. We iterate over all the children of the file node, retrieve and write the translated code into a text file, and save it within the generated Python code directory. Here, I'll do a quick demo of the execution of the compiler. As you can see here, the CodeVR source code has variable declarations, function calls, and variable updates. As mentioned, the output is the equivalent translated Python source code. Since all the use cases are implemented, the associated tasks on Mingo have to be updated accordingly, and the user story can be marked as done. This user story is part of the CodeVR 1.0 release, and my product owner is Dr. Francisco Ortega. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video for user story number 744, CodeVR Language Application, Phase 2.